This is the Laravel News Podcast, your one-stop podcast to find out about Laravel-related news, tutorials, packages, and more. Here are your hosts, Eric Barnes and Jack Frew.
Hello and welcome to the Laravel News Podcast. I'm Eric Barnes, and with me this week is Jack Frew, as always. We have Jason McCreary and Taylor Otwell. How's everybody doing today?
Jealous of your gigabit internet.
Yeah. One day you'll get that in Arkansas.
The sad thing is I think you guys will all have it before I do, and I'm in Chicago, which is a pretty big metro area. You'd think we'd have it first, but
that would be good if Kentucky and Arkansas had it before Chicago.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do? So anyway, the purpose of this week's podcast is, of course, to talk about Laravel 5.3. So Taylor obviously is here to talk about that. And if you have not heard of Jason before, Jason wrote a thing called Laravel Shift, which we're going to hear about as well, which is a cool tool for migrating from one version of Laravel to another. Before we get to that, though, Eric, do we have any sponsors or anything we need to talk about real quick?
Yeah, so this week we are sponsored by Shippo, which is the shipping. It's kind of like Stripe for shipping. And basically, if you're doing any kind of shipping, you just have a single API you hook into that one API, and it connects to basically every carrier, at least in the United States, probably all these other countries too. So it's just basically a super simple way to start shipping out product.
Awesome.
So definitely check those out. It's goshippo.com.
Awesome. Thanks. So Taylor, 5.3 is out now, and I know you talked about it a lot at Laracon, and even in the episode that we had kind of leading up to Laracon US. How do you feel about it now that it's out? Has the response been good? Are people liking it? Were there any last minute things that maybe didn't get talked about that got snuck in there?
Yeah, I'm really excited that it's out. And I think people, the feedback I've gotten has been really positive so far. I think people are really enjoying it. It's probably my favorite Laravel release in the past few years, at least. And mainly because I just really like the notifications and the echo stuff. But let's see, was there any last minute things I didn't get to talk about? I don't remember. I know notifications changed quite a bit, in the weeks between Laracon US and Laracon EU. There was actually a pretty big shift in notifications with the introduction of channel specific message objects, which gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of how you're formatting messages across different channels. So that really opened the door to do some of the more interesting notification setups. Like I sent a postcard from the Laracon EU stage. I sent one back home. And it arrived the day I got back home, actually.
Nice.
And also let you do, iOS notifications and Android notifications, which really wouldn't have fit in that sort of boxed in line of text, call to action line of text model, which was cool in the sense that you just had one method across all channels, but it sort of didn't take advantage of any one channel in a really interesting way. Like it didn't leverage the benefits of each channel's unique advantages.
Cool.
So I think that was a pretty good improvement and could be considered somewhat last minute, I think, in the last few weeks at least.
So this dumb question. We're talking about a electronic internet framework. Did you say you sent yourself a postcard, like a 4x6 piece of paper?
Yeah, so there's a notification driver out. There's a whole website of community-built notification drivers already, actually. And one of them, the most probably unique one, is one that sends postcards through this service called lob.com. And I think it's 70 cents a postcard if it's in the US. And you give it an HTML template for the front of the postcard. So I just used a Laravel blade view for the front of my postcard. And then you can put any message on the back, and you give it a mailing address and stuff. So I used that on the Laracon EU stage to send a postcard back home and demo the sort of the flexibility of the notification system to send emails and literal postcards. So
wait, so are you telling me that they print both sides of this thing and pay for the postage for 70 cents?
Yeah, I think it's 70 cents, and I think it's $1.40 for international.
That's ridiculous. That's awesome. Does it print color? Was the front of it in color? Yeah,
the front of it's in color. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Hey, so you know what people can use this for now is Spatty's new licensing terms, right? Because didn't he announce that he wants a postcard now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he could.
Just go to lob.com and get that sent off to him.
It sounds like it would never be practical, but I showed it to Jeffrey Way, and he was saying like it would be pretty cool, like if someone buys like a lifetime subscription to Laracache, like maybe you get a postcard with a message on it or just something cool like that. Someone makes a pretty big investment into your service. It's a pretty cool little thing to do.
That is really neat. It seems cheap too.
Yeah, pretty cheap.
Yeah.
So the notification stuff changed a little bit between Laracon and now. Do you have any, like, is it too early to tell? Do you have any like download numbers or anything where you can tell trends or anything? Does it look like it's on par to be as popular as the past ones? Is it?
I'm not really sure. I'm always struggled to know, stats in terms of how things are downloaded. I know the website traffic and packages traffic is kind of always on the rise. But yeah, we'll see. I think it's been one of the more positive reactions I can remember in the past few years. So overall, it looks pretty good.
Okay, cool.
Here we go. I just pulled up the packages stuff. So yeah, let's see, 825. Yeah, it's definitely spiked out quite a bit. Like back in March, it was at about 24,000 daily downloads, and it's spiked up to last week was at 32,000 daily downloads. So yeah, pretty big jump.
That is crazy. 32,000 downloads a day?
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. I mean, my gosh. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure some people download it more than once, but like, I mean, what's the most a developer could download it? Maybe twice a day? You know what I mean? Like on an average, most developers probably download it less than once a day. So that's a lot of different people. If you spread that out, that's huge, dude. That's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Another interesting thing related to Laravel 5.3, which Scout was released, at the same time as Laravel 5.3 on the same day. Basically, it was tag stable. And when it was released, it just had an Algolia driver, which is a paid service, a hosted service that's actually really nice. And I really recommend people check out because I think it will save you a lot of time. But just today, we merged an Elasticsearch driver, which, of course, most people are probably familiar with, is a free open source search and sort of analytics engine. Now you have two options. You can use the paid Algolia driver or the free Elasticsearch driver. And it is free to install, of course. I'm not saying it will be free in the sense of it will take more time for you to manage the servers and stuff to run it yourself. But definitely something to check out if you're familiar with Elasticsearch or you just want to experiment with it, then could be cool.
Awesome. There's also been some news recently. I think I saw you tweet that the size of Laravel as a company has doubled. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So I've been wanting to bring someone on to help with a few things for a while, and finally decided to kind of bite the bullet and do it. And it took applications and stuff, but one I got was from Mohammed Saeed, who I actually ended up bringing on board. And Mohammed's actually been around for a little while now, I guess, and made fairly significant contributions to the Laravel validator component, where if you need to validate array form inputs, he basically made all of that a lot better and has made several other contributions to the validator that are like not super glamorous in a way, but are like pretty important and kind of a gnarly piece of the code base that's hard to figure out. So I was pretty impressed that he was able to dig in there and make pretty clean contributions to the code base. So yeah, I'm bringing him on and mainly going to let him focus on Spark and Lumen to start with, getting Spark updated to Laravel 5.3 compatibility, and then doing the same thing with Lumen, updating that to work with the 5.3 packages. And then he'll also, I'm sure, just be working on some of the open source stuff, still looking at the issues and looking at pull requests and stuff like that. So I'm excited. I think it's going to take a little bit of time off my shoulders and let me focus more on Laravel framework itself and Forge and Envoyer, which are sort of my main services I have out there right now. So I'm excited about that.
So let me ask you, as a business owner, how difficult was the decision, right? Because so far it's been all you, right? And I know, like, when I did some consulting years ago, I always felt like I could get more done if I had another person, but it also meant that I had to kind of give up part of the money that I was bringing in to fund that person, right? So would you say it was a difficult choice? Was it something that you thought about for a long time or just kind of came up suddenly? What was your process there?
I definitely thought about it for several months because I was kind of like you. I didn't really want to give up money, but I think like just having more time is going to create more opportunities to make things better, which hopefully will just make up for itself in terms of the revenue side of things.
Right.
But then also, I got a lot of really good applications. There's probably at least 20 or 25 people that I could have hired that would have been fine, and would have done well. But I think Muhammad was interesting because he had already made significant contributions, and him living on the other side of the world, I tried to look at it as kind of a benefit because it gives me more, it's sort of a 24-hour response time in a way to where I can have someone that's kind of seeing what's going on with Laravel around the clock.
Sure.
So that if a really significant issue comes in while I'm sleeping, it would be nice if someone could respond to that, and not have to wait, 7 or 8 hours before I'm like out of bed and in the office.
Right. Look forward to seeing what comes out of this. And we've actually been wanting to get him on the show for a while for some of his articles and stuff that he's written. I know he's been real involved for a while, so
yeah,
I'm really excited about it. I think that was a good choice.
Yeah, he's actually been writing some for Laravel News too, so I appreciate his contributions
for sure.
Yeah, the main goal I had was to try to. I didn't want certain sides of the ecosystem to seem neglected. So like Spark and Lumen, I don't have a lot of time to work on right now. So rather than just leave them neglected, I want someone to be able to keep those up to date and give a lot of attention to them. So I think it'd be good.
Yeah. Hey, I think it's also worth mentioning that you did beat Jeffrey Way in hiring your first employee.
Yeah, I did. And Jeffrey would be a tough thing to hire for. Like
Taylor, anything else going
he
on?
makes the
Is there
videos,
any new news
so,
maybe
like,
around
tied
Forge,
to
for
him.
example, or
he could
any other
probably
hire someone to
so
do
lately
like
I've
all his
been
billing
kind of
support and all
turning
that
my
stuff? Like it
focus
might not be a
towards
full-time
Forge,
job, but
actually, something part-time. Put out a new feature on a Forge yesterday or day before where it will stub out your environment file if it sees that you're installing a Laravel project. Like if it sees the artisan file in the root directory, it says, okay, this is a Laravel project. I'll go ahead and copy over the example environment file, and it will also fill in your application key and your database password and stuff like that so that you're pretty much ready to go, because that always felt a little awkward to me when you install a project on Forge. You couldn't really do anything until you filled out your whole environment file. So it gets you in a more workable state, right off the bat. But Forge, I'm basically planning on that being my main focus for the next several months. Adding features to that, improving it. And I've got a few things coming down the pipe for that. Better database stuff for one. Like you'll be able to create databases from the Forge UI.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that's gonna be what I'm focusing on, and I don't really have anything else, any other secrets in the up my sleeve right now.
Yeah, the environment file, and then I think didn't you add it last year, the SSH keys like per account, like as soon as you spin up a server, they're automatically added now versus the way they used to be.
Right,
yeah.
You can do that. Yeah, add an SSH key to your whole account. It gets added to every server.
Those were huge features for me just because I'm lazy and I like that.
Yeah.
Well, don't they say the best developers are the ones that look for those shortcuts, right?
Yeah. Another feature I'd like to add that it's tougher than it sounds actually is being able to swap out your repository that you have installed on an existing site. And like if everyone plays nice and sort of does it the right way, like sure that will work, but like what I'm envisioning is people will try to swap to like a totally different repository that has no history of the repository that's currently installed. And so I've got to think about that a little more, but I'd like to enable that. It's a fairly frequent request. I guess people install one repository maybe from Bitbucket, but then they switch to GitHub and they want to swap out, without totally uninstalling the site. They just want to swap out the repository that's installed. Probably be working on that as well.
Do you have like a list? Like, is there a place where people put in like feature requests? Or are they just emailing those to you now, or do you have like a website?
Just through the customer support, and then I keep a backlog of stuff that people request, so that I have it in Wunderlist, so that I can see sort of what's come in. And of course, if something's coming in a lot, I'll see that. But I just sort of jot things down as they come in the customer support channel.
And I just want to comment that I think Wunderlist is just a fantastic tool.
Thank you.
That both Eric and Jeffrey Way
Disagree.
that both and by the way, Eric, that disagree is getting edited right out of this. Not going to make it in. You have no voice on this one, right? So
I know.
Well, I was gonna say on Forge, how many people like set up staging domains like on their main boxes? Is that like something that's common as far as like automating all that side of it, or is that
How many people set up staging domains? You said,
Yeah, like so you install a new box for whatever Laravel.com, and then automatically set up like staging.laravel.com at the same time. Does people do that a lot, or do you have any idea?
I need to run. I don't have a good idea. It would be interesting to run some queries about, like, query the Forge database and show me all servers that have both a master branch and a develop branch of a repository installed at the same time. Like, that would give me some kind of maybe basic numbers on how often that's being done. But yeah, that's an interesting thought. I should run some more analytics on kind of how people are using the servers. Like, some people put sort of like one site on one server.
Right.
And then I saw a user the other day that must have been 40 or 50 sites on one server. And I'm guessing, that's someone that's doing a lot of work for different small websites for various clients, that are probably basically static websites for businesses and stuff.
Yeah.
And you can run a lot of them on one server. So yeah, people have very different use cases.
Yeah, that's true.
They're getting their money's worth out of Linode or DigitalOcean.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think I run 5 on mine, but they're all like they're all nothing except for one, and so it's like, man, it don't really matter.
Yeah. Well, and yours is pretty beefy too, right? Like, you're not using the $5 plan.
I'm upgraded to the $20 plan.
Yeah.
Laravel News is on the 2 gigabyte server.
I think the Node
except for during Laracon.
Yeah.
Didn't you have to bump it up during Laracon?
Well, see, Laravel News was on WordPress forever, and apparently WordPress is very query heavy and slow, and it would just max out on the small one, so I had to upgrade it.
Yeah, I just Laravel.com runs on a 4 gigabyte server, and Forge runs on an 8 gigabyte server.
Yeah.
So you're doing pretty good hanging on to that 2 gigabyte one.
Yeah. I just the new site switched to Linode. What is it? They've doubled, right?
Oh yeah, because they have their prizes.
Yeah. So I'm on the $10 one of theirs, and it's humming along. Great.
Well, that's awesome. And back on the 5.3 kind of thought, Jason McCreary, you created something called Laravel Shift, and you want to tell us about what Shift is and what it does and how it might help people who are listening right now?
Yeah, so Shift is basically an automated upgrade service that you can use to upgrade your Laravel projects. So obviously upgrading the framework's super easy. You just jump into Composer and, you run upgrade. But, what really Shift focus on is the application code, the code that you wrote that maybe needs to change. And of course, from the Laravel documentation, you can go to the upgrade guide and follow the steps in there manually, of course, if you want. But where Shift comes in is kind of doing that, obviously, automated, because a lot of that stuff in there can be automated. And it just kind of saves you time and makes sure that your app's all the way upgraded instead of maybe, kind of picking and choosing what pieces in the doc you think might apply to you. So your app's not really in like this hybrid state. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So I guess my first question for you is, I think I saw that you had this thing ready like the day 5.3 shipped, right? So I guess my first question is, how on earth are you tracking all the changes and getting Shift upgraded so quickly?
Well, I guess 2 things. First of all, obviously Laravel's an open source project, so anybody can go out and take a look at the progress. You just jump over to the 5.3 branch, for example, right? And so specifically for Shift, especially, I'm more interested in the Laravel repo than the framework repo.
Okay.
Because there I can see kind of the app as it's changing.
Sure.
Not so worried about the framework code, again, because Composer is going to handle that for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I kind of just troll along in there, and I bug Taylor a lot to ask for, when he might have the upgrade guide out there, so I can maybe get some finer detail on the pieces that maybe I'm not personally familiar with.
Okay.
So
I was going to say, I used it actually last weekend to upgrade the Laravel News code base from 5.2 to 5.3, and it was amazing. It was like, in like 5 minutes, it had already made all that. It made a pull request with all the stuff, and then it outlined everything that I need to look at manually. and it was pretty brilliant. I would have paid $100 for that.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to hear that. That's bad news. He's like, no, I don't.
Well, no, I mean, I hear that. I hear that a lot. I think everybody tells me that, and it's one of those things where I guess my reply for that at the time is, it's a balancing act, right? Because again, since Laravel's open source, it's one of those things where I want people to understand the value of it, but at the same time, I can't. I'm worried about pushing that too far and then getting the people that come out and be like, oh, well, Laravel's free. Why isn't this free? You know?
Yeah.
And of course, if you jump on Reddit or anything like that, you're going to get that right away, and that's expected. But
yeah,
I'd rather hear people saying, man, this is awesome. This is overwhelming. You should charge more, than people saying, hey, I paid $40 and like this didn't work as much as I thought.
That's probably
work,
true.
Right?
And I guess you can always inch that price up a little bit over time. Laravel's not going anywhere, I don't think so.
And I do actually, as an incentive to keep people up to date. I actually, each time a new version comes out, I do increase the price by about 20% of the old versions. So just as a little incentive to keep people up to date, and to save a few bucks, you can do that.
And just so, just for reference, like we're recording this in the first week of September 2016. What would it cost somebody to go from Laravel, let's say 5.2 to 5.3? What is that shift?
$9.
$9?
$9.
$9. That's nothing.
And it'll literally save you like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not 3, but it'll save you an hour or 2. Yeah.
Yeah. I hate to say maybe people are right and that it might be too cheap, but then if I remember,
well, I mean, I guess if you bill,
I was gonna say if I remember, I think you do charge more, like if they're going from like 5 to 5.3, or if they're going from 4 something to 5 and that kind of stuff, right? Like bigger jumps are more.
Yeah, currently each shift is kind of individually. I'm kind of toying with the idea of, well, if you want to go from 5 to 5.3, here's your price kind of thing, instead of making each one individual. But yeah, I mean, if you bill for your development time, obviously, as you should be, or even if you're just working on a personal project, I mean, your time's worth something, and I'd like to think it's worth more than minimum wage in this case.
Right, for sure.
So yeah, I mean, that's a good way to look at it.
Let me ask, because Eric, you mentioned something about a pull request. So walk me through, like Jason, maybe walk me through, if I was going to do this, what happens? Am I putting in like GitHub credentials and you're logging into my account, or do I grant you access to a repo and you do things there? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, so Shift is built with Laravel, of course, and I actually use the Socialite package.
Nice.
So that makes integration with Bitbucket, GitHub, and I think I added GitLab. I don't know if GitLab's out of the box. Maybe Taylor can remind me of that. But if not, I know it was part of like one of the community add-ons. So anyways, basically you sign in with that, authenticate, which allows me access to the repo that you want to use. You choose your shift. You use Stripe. I use Stripe to manage the transaction, the payment. So that's it's about 3 steps, and it goes off into a job queue. And normally within, I'd say, about 90 seconds, you should have a pull request.
Wow. And the pull request is that going to be like all updated code? Like you've updated the code and we just have to take the pull request and bam, we're done? Or is it like comments and like text files that say you should do this or you should do that? Like what does that pull request have?
Yeah, so the pull request has several commits. I try to be really particular about breaking up the commits, so that way if there's something that Shift does automatically that maybe you don't like, or you want to change or add on, or maybe you realize it kind of did it wrong, which is rare, but I do them nice and incrementally like that, so you can just revert them off if you want. So there'll be about maybe 10 commits in a shift, maybe a little more for some of the bigger shifts.
Okay.
And then anything that it can't do, or maybe you need to look at a little more, maybe I did an automation, but it's like all the various ways you can write code. I don't really know exactly how you might have used this.
Yeah.
So it'll make a comment on the pull request. So the whole shift is not only the automated code changes in commits, but it's also a series of comments on that pull request with, nice little text box or task formatting. So you can kind of just run down and check them all off.
Wow.
So.
I think this is a done deal. I'm going to upgrade my project with it as soon as we get off this call. Nice. I think that almost wraps things up. Jason, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'm excited to hit the next big milestone. I've created a lot of milestones for Shift to kind of make it be more of a product than kind of just this hobby. So the next big milestone is 1,000 Laravel projects shifted. So I'm pretty close to that. I'm expecting that to happen probably this weekend.
Nice.
And when that happens, the next big features, there's going to be a site redesign with some more dashboard kind of account sections. So you're going to be able to manage your shifts a little better, particularly things like being able to rerun a shift on demand, which every now and then there's a reason for that. Maybe you forgot to put something in the repo or you shifted on the wrong branch or whatever. So you're going to be able to do that now. And also going to be looking into shifting Laravel packages, which has been the biggest feature request for Shift. So that'll be the next big thing, because a lot of times the early adopters, people that have gone to 5.3, one of the reasons they say that they don't finish the shift is not because Shift did anything wrong, but because they found out one of their package dependencies hadn't already gone to 5.3 because they basically beat them by using Shift. So now I won't give those people a reason anymore. I'm going to shift packages as well.
So here's a question. Do you foresee, like, I'm an end user that doesn't write any packages. Do you see me using your service to update the packages that I depend on? Or do you see the package, like, authors using the service to update their packages once and then everybody, pulls from that?
Ideally, the authors will probably be the target. But, it could be something that if you really enjoy a package, you could, obviously most packages are open source. Maybe you could, fork it, make a branch, shift it, and give it back to the author. Nice way to give back to them, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, that is really cool. I ran into that whenever I was trying to upgrade right before the 5.3 release. And there was like 2 packages I was using that was locked down on the Illuminate, was it Eloquent 5.2, and the way they set up Composer, it wouldn't even install 5.3 because it wouldn't meet the minimum requirements. So that would be really sweet to take that to make that easier.
Awesome. Well, everybody, I want to thank you all for joining, especially our 2 guests. Really appreciate having you guys on, and look forward to all the new stuff that you guys are going to release, in the future, as well as using all the stuff you've done already. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
This concludes this episode of the Laravel News Podcast. If you like the show, please rate it 5 stars on iTunes. If you have feedback for the podcast, please email us at podcast@laravel-news.com. Thanks for listening.
Wunderlist. Wunderlist.
To do it for life.
Wunderlist.
To do it for life.
Wunderlist.
To do it for life.
Wunderlist. Wunderlist.
To do it for life.
Wunderlist. Wunderlist.
And I just want to comment that I think Wunderlist is just a fantastic, fantastic tool.
Thank you.